Wayfeather Media presents Clair Voyaging.
What's going on?
Hey, what's happening, Frank?
Yeah?
Bees.
Bees.
We got bees in our fireplace.
I heard a buzzing.
Yeah.
And I went and looking.
And out came a bee.
One bee came out. And where there's one, there's more.
Yeah. We have a problem. And it's bees.
But also we have a solution. And it's bees.
Yeah, that's true.
Save the bees.
What was the metaphysical symbolism for bees showing up?
I don't know. It was very spring and Eastery.
Okay, well, duh. Guys, we got an interesting show today. But first, a couple of updates. Hey, Frank.
Yeah.
We have a new review from Lacey PQ.
Lacey PQ?
Yeah. This was on the Apple Podcast platform. She says, "Love listening to you two. I found your show by searching for Sarah R. Reeves. She's so fantastic and have been hooked ever since. I love the diverse guests you've interviewed and can't wait to hear who you'll have next." Thank you, Lacey.
Lacey.
Also, totally agree. Sarah Reeves is incredible.
I agree.
Yeah. Lacey, send us an email, clairvoyagingpodcast@gmail.com, so we can send you a promo pack.
Little promo pack.
We have some fun new merch arriving soon.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, we're sending promotional packs to the first 10 people who write a review on Apple Podcasts or a different platform. Or even if you share our podcast on social media, that counts too. So
it does?
Send us. Yeah.
It was,
yeah.
Wow.
I changed the rules.
Okay.
Send us a screenshot of your post or your review and we'll get you a promo pack. That's Clair Voyaging Podcast.
That's an easy
gmail.com.
Easy win. Go get it.
Oh, also, Carol, thanks again for buying us some coffee.
Oh, man. Carol came through again.
She's a continued supporter.
Yeah. A friend of the show.
Yeah. And she sent a really nice story to our email about her childhood. And,
yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
We got photos and everything.
Yeah. Growing up with spirits around her.
Very amazing.
Guys, we love hearing stories. So send us stuff.
Yeah. Go to clairvoyaging.com and click on send us a story. And there's instructions there.
Yeah, we want to include recorded stories on our podcast. And it could be sometime when you followed your intuition. It doesn't have to be, I saw a ghost stories, but anything that's hey, I listened to my gut and it got me here. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
This episode, trigger warning, there's death and murder topics.
Murder.
Frank.
Yes.
This episode is your story of your past life regression.
I did a past life reading. I actually, now that we're talking about it, I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between a past life reading and a past life regression. I didn't go into any kind of hypnotic state, but I did go into a meditative state, and it was a guided meditation with our family therapist.
I kind of feel
Clair.
That's kind of the same thing.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. We'll have to experiment with other
or we'll have to
regressions.
Bring in a guest.
Oh, hey.
Ooh, if only there were a podcast.
Yeah.
That talked about such things.
Hey, hypnotherapists, you want to join? Do a past life regression.
Dude, yeah. Here's a call to action. Hypnotherapists, give us a ring.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your story.
Yeah.
And it's super fascinating. I think the people are going to like it.
There's some good, there's some bad.
There's some murder.
There's some ugly.
All right, here's Frank's past life regression.
I've mentioned in past episodes that our family has acquired a therapist who just also happens to be very practiced in his psychic abilities. On the show, we refer to him as Dr. Clair. He's helped us with a great many things, both psychic and pedestrian. He recently offered to do a past life reading with me. Now, as you may know, I'm actively working on my comfort level when it comes to having someone else in my head with me. It's one thing to interview psychics and mediums, but it's another thing entirely to voluntarily invite someone into the recesses of your mind. Dr. Clair has told me on a number of occasions that I'm an open book, which implies that he already knows a certain amount of the cluttered bric-a-brac precariously rested upon crooked shelving in my dome. I trust Dr. Clair, so really the only thing that had to be overcome was my own fear of what would be revealed to me. What if I learned something about myself I don't like? When all was said and done, I had some justification for that concern, but also the experience provided a lot of healing and some information that allowed me to process some things that I didn't even know needed processing. And I'm much better for it. So let me set the scene. It's the day of the reading. I'm sitting on a couch with my laptop in front of me. Dr. Clair is on video chat looking at me with his typical knowing smirk that I've come to appreciate very much. We have a shared appreciation of dark humor and candid statements, so he knows exactly what to do and what to say to make me feel slightly uncomfortable. One might think this is somewhat of an odd move for a therapist to purposefully make a client feel just slightly uncomfortable. But Dr. Clair knows that his raised brow, knowing stares make me giggle. As an introvert, I find it innately unfair that someone like him has the ability, with my permission of course, to see my thoughts and experience my memories. This artificial tension is part of our rapport, and I literally wouldn't have it any other way. So the session goes as follows. Dr. Clair will walk me through a spoken, guided meditation. Since he can see inside my mind, he'll jot down what he sees while I express to him, verbally, the very murky impressions and sensations that my training-wheeled intuition can pick up on. It'll kind of be like we're watching the same movie, but he's got the 4K Blu-ray and I have the VHS that was recovered from a house that burnt down in the 80s. So we begin. I close my eyes. Dr. Clair has me imagine a long hallway with a door at the end of it. As a writer with a vivid imagination, I can easily see this long hallway, and it kind of resembles like a school with lockers on either side and doors, and at the end of the long hallway, I see a door with like a 4-panel window on it, and there's light shining through the window. I approach the door and open it, revealing another dark room. Dr. Clair informs me that there are more doors in this space and asks me to see them. I envision that I am surrounded by 5 or 6 doors, but I can only clearly see 2 of them. The rest of the doors are formless and feel like they're not even there yet. Dr. Clair said that those were placeholder doors for future lives, a concept which I'm still trying to wrap my head around a bit. He also laughed with me for unknowingly recreating a circle of doors very similar to the doors that appear in The Nightmare Before Christmas, if you've seen that movie. I approach the first door. It's a wood door with very ornate carvings on it, and it's painted what once must have been a deep emerald green, but the door looks old and tattered. I turn the doorknob and push it open, and through the small slit, the first thing I see is snow. I open the door the rest of the way, and I am on a snowy hilltop, on the edge of a forest, and in the distance I can see a bay and the ocean. I sense that I'm far from where I'm supposed to be, and I'm very alone. Dr. Clair asks me now to fast forward a bit in this life, and I do, and I find myself in a deep forest with massive pine trees. I see what I believe to be a woman on a horse riding past me, and she seems somewhat upset. I don't know who she is. Dr. Clair tells me that she is likely a memory of someone that I knew in that life, and I'm seeing the memory of her leaving me. And this could actually be the source of any feelings of abandonment that I might be carrying in this life, my real current life. Dr. Clair asks me to zoom out and see who I am from a third-person perspective. I do, and I see a young Asian man. I'm in my late teens, early 20s, and I'm wearing some kind of black scaled or plated armor. At that moment, I have an overwhelming feeling that I'm stuck, that I can't move any further in this life. Even my writer's mind is turned off. I can't even imagine what could come next from this point. I feel like I was going somewhere, but I can't see where I was going to, and I can't get there now. Dr. Clair lets me know that in this green door life, I was a young man, either in the army or army adjacent somehow, and the person I studied under, my master, unfairly punished me for some reason, and he sent me on a difficult task, lacking knowledge and resources. and I didn't make it. I died of exposure and starvation, alone, confused, but also feeling guilty for not doing better. In my current life, this would explain why I tend to be very hard on myself and why I have a very complicated relationship with authority. If I don't agree with an authority figure, I simply will not be told what to do or where to be. And now that I think about it in this moment, this kind of explains why I love to learn. But I've never thrived in the traditional education system. My entire life, the moment my teacher-student relationship was tarnished with personal judgments, I fully clocked out. And my grades often represented that. At this point, Dr. Clair instructs me to back out of the green door life and go back to my Nightmare Before Christmas room. I approach the only other door I can see, the red door, and I immediately notice the resemblance to my actual real-life, right now current front door. It's not the same, but it's similar enough to have me questioning if this is actually part of my past life reading or if it's just a part of my imagination. Luckily, Dr. Clair is there to let me know when I'm just making stuff up, but he says that there's something to this and to continue forward. Upon opening the door, I immediately see that I'm on another hilltop of sorts, but this time there's no snow. It's very pretty, but once again, it kind of resembles the terrain behind my current actual house. So I'm second guessing myself in all of this. I notice that in this vision, I am in isolation. Dr. Clair instructs me to imagine the type of people that I would have interacted with in this life, even if they're not with me in this moment. And I immediately see that I am in the center of a large group of people. Everyone's smiling at me, and I feel very well liked. I'm kind of standing alone in the middle of them, and they're all facing me, so it's like I'm performing or something. Dr. Clair confirms that in this life, I'm some kind of public figure or politician, and this wasn't too long ago. He says I'm breaking ground on some type of very supported public development project. It's the late 70s or the early 80s, and I'm not that old. So what happened? Dr. Clair again instructs me to fast forward in this life and try to see how I die. Initially, I don't see anything, and it's very black, but I do notice a sick feeling in my chest and stomach, and I could only relate it to the sensation of slipping and falling. I then get a vision of my dead body lying at the bottom of a rocky ravine. My limbs are all busted and going in the wrong directions and all that, and I have a surprised expression on my face. It's not a pretty sight. But much like the last life, I feel guilty again for having made a stupid mistake that caused my death. But in that moment, Dr. Clair intervenes with a leading question. Did I slip, or was I pushed? I rewind to the top of that ravine and I look behind me before the fall, and I am absolutely shocked to see the face of someone I used to know from my current life. And when I say shocked, I mean to a visceral degree, just shy of nausea. I'm going to pause my past life story real quick just to get personal. I've stated a number of times on the show about how introverted I am and how private I like to be, but for some reason, talking about this stuff in the context of transparency into my spiritual journey, I feel better about it. I think I feel better about it because I feel like I can help people, and maybe even you, dear listener, to feel more comfortable and less alone during your own journey. That makes me feel much better about divulging information that I normally wouldn't. So I'm going to go on a quick diatribe here, and then I'll get back to the past life regression. In our lives, we are often faced with making difficult relationship decisions. Sometimes there are people that we love like family, but are nevertheless toxic in their current forms, and we have to wish them well and walk away. It's hard and it sucks every time. I've been fortunate to have very few of those types of relationships in my life, but the most recent occurrence of me having to walk away from an old friend was the most challenging one for me, to the point where I've second-guessed my decision on a daily basis for literally years. The only thing that's made me feel better about it at all was this quote I found that reads, "I would rather adjust my life to your absence than adjust my boundaries to accommodate your disrespect." So now come back with me through the red door to the edge of the ravine. Standing behind me at the top of that ravine, the person who killed me with a slight nudge is this old friend. And I had a flood of emotions in realizing this. The worst part of it is that it checked out somehow. The aforementioned disrespect, the jealousy, the narcissism, something called tall poppy syndrome, something called crab mentality. Go look them up. I was well liked in that life, and I made the mistake of trusting the wrong person. Someone that in this life, I finally learned to let go of. Dr. Clair felt my shock. In other meetings with him, he noticed how firmly I believe that there is good in everybody, and while that's an honorable sentiment, it's also led to my demise on a number of lives. He took a moment to really think about and digest what I witnessed with my old friend, and he let me know that this individual has a karmic tie to me. We've reincarnated together multiple times, and this was not the first time that this has happened. He took a few more minutes to do his psychic thing, and then he dropped a real bombshell on me. In my current life, this one, the one you're hearing me speak in, I was once again supposed to be killed by this same individual about 20 years ago. He explained with no prior knowledge how the event was supposed to occur, and I remember to the day when this would have been. For whatever reason, not even known to Dr. Clair, the powers that be decided to try something else with me. Or maybe they just decided I was gonna get the lesson and I needed a little more time. I don't know. I usually don't have a hard time processing information, but this got me. I knew I was gonna have to think about this later, but for now I had a more pressing question to Dr. Clair, and that is, am I good? Or should I be looking over my shoulder? He let me know that I'm good and safe, aside from the nagging feeling that I was supposed to die years ago, which is something that I've always kind of dealt with. I feel like a lot of people do. And that the only other thing I'd have to deal with was the sense that my time was running out. It's not. It was, but it's not now. And ask Lauren, sometimes I work like a jerk. I'm just trying to get things done, and I'm like, we gotta go faster and all this stuff, and I'm not ever really appreciating the process or appreciating our wins. Apparently it all comes from this deep feeling that I'm on borrowed time. I can let go of those things now, and with them, the karmic connection that I have to this person. I no longer need to second guess my decision to move on from this person, but I still love them. So it's bittersweet, and it always will be. Dr. Clair ended the session there, but not before letting me know that there was one more door that my spirit guides didn't let me see, because it doesn't serve any purpose to let me know about it in this life. Why? Because in it, I was off the rails. I was a bad guy. It was in the 40s. I was not serving my soul's contract in any way. I was rich. I was attractive. I was a narcissist. And I was a deviant on multiple levels. I enjoyed hurting people. The door was black. He was short on the details, but Dr. Clair let me know about this door because if I ever have any darker or weirdly cruel thoughts that bubble up out of nowhere on occasion, it's just a shadow from the life of that jerk. I can dismiss them, and I don't have to judge myself for them. That black door version of me was upsetting to hear, but it's important to know that in all of this, that we still have free will. If we allow our traumas and our shortcomings to be our guide, we're gonna blow it. Who knows, maybe, after living the life where my master decided that it was gonna be cool to send me off to my death for no reason, maybe I was like, screw it, man, I wanna get wild. I wanna be crazy. And I turned around and I made that trauma more trauma for other people. But having learned that now, I know that I did the dirty, and any guilt that I feel, I will work alongside it and make sure I do not repeat that again. I wish I made better choices then, but that's not who I am anymore. I was never that person in this life, but I can learn from that person. So, 3 doors and one of them a complete bust. Dr. Clair says I am a younger soul. This is the oldest I've ever been in any of my lives, which is why I consistently feel like I don't really know what I'm doing. With that said, I do believe that I'm doing my best. This past life reading, expertly guided by Dr. Clair's abilities, was healing to me, even the weird parts, even the rough to hear about parts. It taught me a lot about my more subtle feelings and instincts that I don't always necessarily have an answer for. But there is a bigger and more universal takeaway. I consider myself a writer and a student of the late great Joseph Campbell, the writer who popularized the concept of monomyth and the hero's journey. The shortest version of the hero's journey is your main character, or you, want something, you get it, it's not exactly what you were expecting, you learn from it, and the cycle repeats. Somebody's going to hate me for oversimplifying that, but I'm not teaching a writing class right now, so forgive me, please. When we try to fit our lives into the model that is the hero's journey, it can often feel like there's not enough time to get everything we want and learn all the lessons we need to learn and progress meaningfully. But here's the thing. By acknowledging our multiple lives and how the lessons we learn come with us over multiple lifetimes, our hero's journey is actually immense. It's important to forgive ourselves for learning lessons slowly, and it's important to be patient with our progression and appreciate our current position on our long journey. Time is an illusion. In the wise words of J.R.R. Tolkien's Gandalf the Grey, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. If we take the baby steps towards learning our lessons, use meditation as a download and upload of said lessons, and work alongside our current challenges, not in spite of them, then we're doing all right, friends. Let's do our best and give the next life an alley-oop so that version of us can dunk it. That's how baseball works. After all, even Gandalf the Grey had to die to become Gandalf the White. It was part of his progression. What? Too much nerd lore? I'm not even close to sorry.
Thank you for listening. Visit www.clairvoyaging.com for show notes, merch, or just to say hi. If you'd like to support our journey, visit www.buymeacoffee.com/clairvoyaging. This has been a production of Wayfeather Media.